I got home late, as has become common over the past 6 months. I wondered a little what I was getting myself into as I noticed 3 other cars parked in front of my house. Of course I recognized them. Ben, George, and Jack had been my best friends for years. Heck, I'd driven their cars hundreds of times. I wondered what they were doing there, since my wife knew I'd be home late tonight. Well, the discussion should be interesting. I could hear them whispering to each other in the living room, so I stopped by the refrigerator and got a beer. They had probably been here for quite a while, and my wife had certainly taken care of getting them drinks. After gathering my courage, I walked casually into the room. My wife was sitting on the couch between Ben and Jack. George sat in a deep armchair next to the couch. Nodding a greeting to them, I walked over and sat in the other deep armchair across from the couch. "Dinner?" I asked casually. They stared at each other for a moment before Gloria seemed to gather her courage to give me some bad news. Finally, she seemed to make up her mind and began to speak. "I'm sorry about this, Dave, but we need to talk about this openly. It's killing me to have to keep it a secret from you, and the guys are also getting a little frustrated with the time I can give them. I want you to know that I love you very much, and I want us to have kids and grow old together. I want us to eventually retire, travel as we always planned, and spoil all the future grandchildren we may someday have. I realize it will affect us a bit, but we can remain husband and wife. The thing is, I've been having sex with Ben, George, and Jack for the last year, sometimes individually, but mostly with 2 or even all 3 at once." She paused to gauge my reaction. I just shut up and took a sip of my beer. "So, the thing is, sometimes one of them would take you somewhere to distract you while the other 2 would come and have sex with me. Your date could always let us know when you were approaching the house. That gave us time to clean up and the guys time to leave before you got there. Unfortunately, we couldn't do it without you getting suspicious. The other thing is, I really like having all 3 of them at the same time. I mean, 2 is great, but 3 is awesome. I decided it was time for me to say something, and this seemed like the perfect time. Hi, Gloria. I can't say I'm really happy to find out that you're cheating on me with 3 of my friends. I also can't say I'm happy that 3 of my best friends stabbed me in the back like that. Is that your way of telling me you want a divorce? Oh, no, honey. I want to have kids and grow old together. I don't want a divorce, and if you try to do that, I'll fight it and give you the purge. What I want is for you to accept that so we can move forward. We will still have sex and behave as befits a married couple. In a few months, I'll be off the pill, and we can work on having our first child. Everything will be business as usual, except that a few times a week guys will come over and have sex with me. Maybe you can even join us once in a while." I decided to splash some cold water. I looked at my 3 former friends and asked a question. "Well, how do your wives feel about it?" Ben answered. "I thought so. After all, he is a lawyer. Our wives don't know anything about it, and we're damn sure they won't. I swear, if you say one word about this, I will destroy you. I think I've done a damn good job of holding back my smirk." "Don't worry about it. They won't hear a word from me." "Good," Ben continued. "It's best they don't know that." He glanced at Gloria. She nodded her head for him to continue. "Okay, so here's how it's going to be from now on. Gloria found that she really enjoyed fucking more than one man at a time. You just can't satisfy her anymore. So a few times a week, the boys and I will come to have Gloria until we are satisfied. Then we'll clean up so our wives don't suspect a thing. Once we're done, we'll leave and you 2 can go back to being the happily married couple that you are. We don't care if you stay here or go somewhere else at this time. If you stay here, we might let you join us from time to time. As for your sex with your wife, you can do that any day we're gone. Heck, we'll even let you have sex with her after we leave if she's ready for it. Well, since obviously I don't have much choice, unless I want to live in a cardboard box by the river, I have a couple of small requests. I figure since you're using my wife, it's the least you can do for me." Ben smiled triumphantly. He was ready to be magnanimous in his victory. "Sure, Dave. The important thing is that the requests aren't too many." No, I assured him. "Just a couple of little things that I'm sure won't require any effort on your part. First, I don't want you to use my bed. The bed in the guest room is big enough. I need to sleep in that bed, and I think there's enough disrespect for me as it is." I think we can agree to disagree on that. We usually do it on the living room floor anyway, but we can use the guest bedroom if necessary. Your bedroom and bathroom will be off limits. Thank you. Secondly, I want to be notified of your comings and goings. I have no intention of being here while you guys fuck. I want to be able to plan my absence before you show up, and I need to know when I can come home. And that's possible. Is there anything else? No, that's it. Good. Now, since we're all here, we don't want to miss this opportunity. We can give you half an hour to pack up and go. I think you're going to have to get a motel room for the night. Our wives think we went night fishing on Jack's boat and don't expect us home until tomorrow morning at the earliest. Ben grinned. Good. I'll get myself together now and make a phone call, after which I'll be out of your hair. I got up and headed for my bedroom. Their conversation could be heard in the bedroom. That went a lot better than I expected, Ben grinned. Yeah, George added. I expected it to blow up. They laughed a little and made a few derogatory remarks about my manhood. Back in the room, I pulled out my cell phone and made a call. Yes, Mary. Yes, they said they would be here all night. I thought about your house, but Ben suggested a motel room. I listened to the answer. High-end? That's great. I'm thinking presidential suite. Call Evi and Joan and have them meet us there. Heard back. Yeah, I think I'm ready. Oh, you know, Gloria said she's giving up the pill and wants to get pregnant. I laughed at her answer. That's wonderfully wicked. I love it. Do you think Evie and Joan would go for it too? I couldn't hold back an explosion of laughter. Have you three thought about it? Oh, good. All right, I'll see you ladies soon. I'm just on my way out. As I turned around, I saw 4 stunned faces looking at me. Dave, who were you talking to and what was all that about? Gloria asked. Uh-oh. That was Mary, Ben's wife. She's going to book the presidential suite for the night. We're meeting Evie, George's wife, and Joan, Jack's wife, there. Since their husbands have gone night fishing and won't be back till morning, we have all night to fuck our brains out. What? Ben screamed in outrage. I told you what would happen if you told our wives about this. They didn't hear anything from me. On the contrary, they're the ones who told me. It's true. 6 months ago, your 3 wives came to my office and told me that you 3 have been having my wife for 6 months. They offered to have sex with me whenever you guys have a threesome with Gloria. So for the last 6 months, while you've been fucking my wife, I've been having your wives. Gloria, did you really think I was working when I came home late? Did you ever wonder why I'm so exhausted when I get home? Tonight, you 3 will have Gloria here and I will be in your wives' presidential suite. I looked at Gloria. Believe me, I understand your infatuation with multiple buddies at the same time. I looked at my former friends. You didn't know your wives were bisexual, did you? They started sleeping together when they found out about your deception. Eventually, they decided I needed to know which whore I married. They came to my office to inform me and involve me in their games. Don't bother trying to divorce or punish them. There are plenty of pictures and videos in the private investigator's report. They will tear you apart in divorces. Gloria, I'm not worried about you divorcing me. You'll get almost nothing, plus I'll just move in with your lover's ex-wives. They seem to really like me. I stared at their stunned faces for a minute. By the way, we have one more agreement to make. Let's agree not to do DNA testing on any of the future children. You all might not like the results. Anyway, it's time to hit the road. I have 3 insatiable women to take care of. You all have a good night. With those words, I turned and walked out the door. On the way out, I wondered if there would be any repercussions from tonight's revelations. I mentally shrugged. Ben was rich, and Mary had the foresight to have already paid the fee to the meanest, nastiest shark of divorce lawyers. We'd be fine. Today, Monday, was a boring, rainy day. I was sitting in my shitty little office playing solitaire on my laptop and losing. Suddenly the door opened and a lady walked in. She appeared to be about 45 years old, dyed blonde, about 5 inches tall, about 120 pounds. Too thin for my taste, but still quite well put together. Her designer purse and diamond earrings hinted at big money. Are you Jack Masters, detective? Yes, that's me. And who are you? She walked over to my lousy little desk and held out a graceful hand. I'm Sharon Stevens. I stood up, shook her hand, and gestured to a chair. Please have a seat, Miss Stevens. Thank you, but I'm Mrs. Stevens. I'm married, at least for the moment. I think my husband is cheating, and I need you to find out if that's really the case. You do that sort of thing, don't you? Can we get pictures of them together and stuff like that? I sighed. How I hate this shit. I spent 25 years on the police force as a detective. I put away a lot of bad guys. It took one fucking bullet ricocheting into my left knee to end my career. Now I'm a private investigator running around everywhere, looking in motel windows, taking pictures of cheating assholes so their spouses can sue for divorce. I really hate that shit, but it pays my bills. Yes, Mrs. Stevens, I do that sort of thing. Why don't you tell me about the whole situation? James and I have been married for 22 years, and he is vice president of Mega Insurance Company. I assume he is having an affair with a woman who works with him. They're probably meeting at the Crown Plaza or one of the other downtown hotels near his office. Okay, what makes you think he's meeting with this woman? Do you have any evidence of him cheating? No, it's not really complete proof. It's just that he's become very aloof and is acting strange. We started having sex infrequently, and that's not like him at all. And finally, 2 weeks ago, I found a receipt from a jewelry store in his shirt pocket. A receipt for a beautiful bracelet, but he never gave it to me. After that, I got suspicious and checked his credit card statements. They show a charge for hotel stays each of the last 3 Wednesdays. But why would he need to do that? He can't pay for client meetings. He has a company card to pay for them. He's been home every Wednesday night, so why would it be necessary to pay for a hotel? So, you think he might be meeting some lady every Wednesday afternoon, right? And you want me to take pictures of him cheating? Yes. We have a prenup. And if I have proof of cheating, I'll destroy him. He'll be out on his ass living on the streets. Okay, Mrs. Stevens. I'll follow him this Wednesday and see what he's up to. If he has another woman, I'll give you the evidence you need to nail him. She smiled radiantly at me and stood up. I stood up too. Our meeting was complete. I brought $1,000 in cash. Will that be enough to start your investigation? Sure, that's fine. I'll call you Thursday with a preliminary report. She put the money on the desk, turned and walked out of my office with an important look, swaying her hips exaggeratedly. Hey, maybe she didn't see the gold ring on my finger, or maybe she didn't care. Maybe she's just preparing for the moment when her divorce becomes final. Who knows? On Wednesday, I got to Crown Plaza at 11:30. I picked it because it was the closest hotel to the building where her husband worked, and it was raining again. I slipped a $50 bill into the hand of the girl behind the counter and asked what room my brother, James Stevens, had booked. She stared at me for a moment, then lowered her gaze to the $50 and sighed. Taking a notepad, she wrote, "Room 704, tore off a sheet and handed it to me. I smiled, tilting my head gratefully, and walked across the lobby to the free coffee stand. Sipping my coffee, I studied the picture Mrs. Stevens had given me, then settled down in the lobby where I had a good view of the elevators. At 12:10, James Stevens walked in and headed straight for them. This tipped me off that his girlfriend must have gotten the key earlier and was already in the room. I watched as the elevator doors closed and then studied the floor sign to make sure Stevens got off on the 7th floor. After waiting 5 minutes, I packed my small gym bag, then took the elevator to the 8th floor. He then exited, walked to the door to the stairwell, and descended to the 7th floor. Carefully opening the door a few inches, he looked out into the hallway. Finding the hallway empty, he walked to the door of room 704. Leaning my head against the door, I heard muffled voices through the heavy door. As quietly as possible, I pulled out my snake chamber and tried to slip it under the door. Shit! It wouldn't fit under it! Grabbing a tire iron, I carefully slid it under the door. Using my knee, I applied a little pressure to lift the door slightly. Bingo! The camera slid under the door and into the room. I studied the screen, moving the camera further into the room. It took a few moments for the autofocus to show a clear image of the bed. I concentrated on capturing Stevens's face in my video, and once I was sure I had a clear shot of him, I focused on his companion as she rode him like a horsewoman. Suddenly, my stomach clenched, and I almost dropped the equipment. The camera perfectly showed the small butterfly tattoo on her shoulder, leaving no doubt as to the identity of the cheating bitch. Damn, how could she do that? I had loved this woman for almost 20 years. Her betrayal was like a knife in my stomach. I fought the bile that threatened to burst from my throat. Taking a few deep breaths, I tried to calm myself down. Fucking bitch! I pulled myself together. I had a fucking job to do. I knew I had to get a good video to satisfy Mrs. Stevens' demands for the dissolution of her prenup. I forced myself to look at the cheating wench again while she bounced up and down, whipping her long dark hair back and forth, arching her back and slapping up and down on Stevens. These movements allowed a glimpse of her face, shattering any remaining doubts about her identity and crushing my soul. I fought the rage, the almost overwhelming urge to get up, kick the fucking door in, and put an end to this nightmare. Then I slowly dragged the snake chamber back out into the hallway and took my knee off the montage. Gathering all my stuff, I walked back to the door to the landing. Stuck a small wedge in the door to keep it open just enough to see further down the hallway. Leaned heavily against the door jamb, too devastated to lift my head. A cascade of emotions overwhelmed me: red-hot, intense anger, paralyzing pain, heartbreaking disgust. Then obsessive, unanswered questions repeated themselves in my head. Why? How could she do this? How long has this been going on? I shook my head. I'm a professional. I need to finish the job. I forced myself to focus on Stevens and gathering the evidence Sharon needed to nail his slippery ass to the wall. 15 minutes later, a smiling James Stevens emerged from room 704. He looked around the lobby, adjusted his tie, and headed for the elevators. As soon as the elevator started to descend, I hurried down the hall and stopped in front of room 704. At first, I raised my hand to knock, then changed my mind and just leaned against the wall opposite the door. A few minutes later, the adulterous whore opened the door. She looked up, and when she saw me, she screamed and slammed the door shut. I knocked. "Gail, open the damn door!" After a few moments, she slowly opened it. Her face was flooded with tears. "Jack, my God, Jack, what are you doing here?" "I think the better question is, what the hell are you doing here?" "Jack, it's not what you think. I can explain it. It was just—" "Do it, Gail. I don't want to hear a bunch of lies from you." Gail, sobbing, collapsed to the floor. Crossing her arms over her chest, she began to rock back and forth. "Oh my God, Jack, does he know? Did he send you? Oh shit, oh shit!" I looked down at her. She was a pathetic mess, but I had no sympathy for her. I'd seen the videotape where she certainly hadn't been raped. No, the bitch was having a great time with her lover. I picked her up and sat her in the chair. "Gail, Rich didn't send me. Stephen's wife hired me. She knew he was messing around and asked me to get proof. I almost threw up when I saw that he had you." Oh my God, Jack, what are you going to do? If you tell Rich, he'll be crushed. Please, Jack, you don't have to tell him. You just don't." "Gail, I love you with all my heart. You were the little sister I never had. When my brother got married, I was very happy to welcome you into our family. You two have been a big part of my life for almost 20 years. Lord, Gail, you are the godmother of my children. How the hell could you give all that up to mess around with some bastard like Stevens?" "No, Jack, no. Please, you don't have to tell him. Please, Jack, I'm begging you, please don't tell him." "No, Gail, I'm not going to tell him anything. That's what you're there for. And you're going to do it by the end of the weekend. If you don't tell him by Monday, I'm going to show him the damn video." "Oh God, Jack, he can't see me like this. No, please, Jack, I promise I'll tell him. Please don't ever let him see me with Stevens. Please, Jack, please." I picked Gail up and walked her to her car. She said she was going to cut her workday short and go home to wait for Rich to arrive. She also promised she would tell my little brother everything she had done, and I promised he would never see the video. I went back to my office and went over the evidence I had gotten for Sharon Stevens. Then I used a special app I'd bought to blur out a brief glimpse of Gail's face. Sharon just needed to prove that James was fooling around. She didn't need to identify his mistress to invoke the prenup. Late Sunday night, I got a text from Rich asking if we could talk. I called him. "Hey, bro, what's up?" "Hey, Jackie, I was wondering if you mind if I crash at your place for a few days?" Sure, bro. What's going on?" Gail admitted that she had a brief affair with some guy. She says it's over and swears it'll never happen again. I want to believe her, but damn, man, I don't know if I can ever forgive her. "Rich, you know I love you, and I love Gail too. I'm always on your side no matter what you decide." "Thanks, Jack. Hell, what would you do if it was Amy? Rich, I pray to God I never have to make that decision. I love Amy with all my heart, just like I'm sure you love Gail, but I don't know what I'd do if she cheated. Yes, I still love Gail, and I truly believe she still loves me. I just don't know what to do. Rich, I'm your big brother, but I'm not going to tell you what to do. You have to look deep into your heart and do what's best for you in the long run. Thanks, brother. I promised Gail I'd talk to her again this evening. I'll call you if I'm going to make it. No one ever called me that night. I guess Rich and Gail decided to try to work things out. I make no judgments about my brother's decision. It's his life, his decision. I'm pretty sure my decision wouldn't have been the same, but it's easy to tell when it hasn't really happened to you. That night in bed, cuddling Amy, I asked her if she was happy with our life. Jack, I love you with all my heart. I love the life we've created together. Is there a reason you're asking me that? No, I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. I want you to be happy with me because I can't imagine myself happier than I am with you. Oh, good answer. I think you're getting smarter every day. Now shut up and kiss me.